What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the Social Media Mindset Podcast. And my guest today is actually me. I am doing a solo episode that I think is going to be incredibly powerful for you guys. Before we jump in, this episode is sponsored by Content Compounding. If you need your brand to grow, if you need a greater online presence, if you are recording video content but you're not sure what to do with it, and if you're not getting the most out of it, Content Compounding is the partner for you. You can go to contentcompounding.io to find out more. Let's jump in to episode number 120. Unbelievable. And so what we're going to talk about on this episode, guys, is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. It is being consistent with video. Because we all know, right? Nobody in real estate, nobody in mortgage, nobody in sales can any longer go, "What video, huh? What's this about? What are you talking about?" We're very well aware of the fact that it exists. We're even probably aware of the power that it has, but still we are struggling to be consistent. We're struggling to keep moving forward. And so I wanted to commit an entire episode of the show to this because I really just believe that it is that powerful. And I've been, as the new year has started, I've been reading a book from one of my favorite pastors called Crash the Chatterbox. And as I've been reading this is a book that I read probably 10 or 12 years ago. And I chose to dust it off, pick it back up. And I really felt like this episode needed this at the very beginning of, guys, if you want to be better on social, if you want to be better with video content, you have to crash the chatterbox. And here's what this means. He says in the book, he says that every day, he says, my soul feels like a Twitter feed and I'm following the most annoying people ever. This is your life and mine. He also says that the average person, think about this, the average person has over 60,000 thoughts per day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. So think about when you want to form a new habit, when you want to start a new lifestyle, when you want to add something in or remove something from your life, you are fighting, amongst tons of other things, against the 60,000 thoughts you have every single day, because 80% of those are negative. And I so related. This morning at the gym, I was listening to the audio version of this book, and I so related to the story he told of, he said that his mind is so against him at times that this is sometimes how quickly it can go downhill. He said that he could be taking a shower, and while showering, he could notice that the middle light of their three lights in their bathroom is out. And so his next thought is, well, I need to remember to do this, but I don't have my phone in here. So how am I going to put a reminder in my phone to do it? And then I don't have time to do it right now because I'm already running 10 minutes late to the meeting that I'm trying to get to. And let's be honest, even if I had the time, I don't even know where my wife keeps these light bulbs. And gosh, how embarrassing for people if they realize that I didn't even change the light bulbs in our house, that my wife does that. And it just spirals out of control. He took it even deeper, right? To he went from a light bulb to not being a good dad, not being the husband he's supposed to be, and it started because of a light bulb. This is how crazy our minds can be, right? If people only knew the thoughts that we have about ourselves that we never say out loud. And so as I was listening to this morning, the first thing my heart felt was, this is why we struggle to do hard things. Charles Spurgeon says this: beware of no man more than of yourself. We carry our worst enemies within us. Beware of no man more than of yourself. We carry our worst enemies within us. This is the battle, guys, that we're facing. And so if you are going to win the war with social media, you've got to crash the chatterbox. You have got to realize that the manifestations you're allowing inside your head are probably not going to be true. They're way worse than they really are. They're not as bad as you think they are. And you've got to overcome this. And so to be consistent with anything, we have to change the way we think. And this has been so true for me. Right? I'm recording this. It's the middle of January. And this morning I just finished my 13th workout of the new year. I'm not even sure that I did 13 workouts last year, and I've already done 13 workouts in January. And here's the most profound thing that I've found is that what I've done really poorly in my past is I have completely sabotaged myself by starting my day off failing myself. Because when I go to bed and go, I need to work out tomorrow, I'm going to go. I'm going to drop the kids off and I'm going to go. And then I drop the kids off at school and I don't go. I start my day off failing myself. And then no wonder why I just have these things creep in and this thought and that thought. And by the end of the day, I think I'm the worst everything on the planet. And so what I'm learning early in 2023 is if I can start my day off with an actual win, with a follow through on a commitment that I said I was going to do, it changes the way I see my day. And so for many of you, you may not struggle with working out, or maybe you do, and maybe my journey can help you in that area. But for many of you, you might have a six-pack, but you can't seem to get yourself consistent on video. It's no different. You go to bed going, I need to do a video. I was at Kyle's seminar. I went to one of his classes. I saw one of his videos. I need to do a video tomorrow. And then you don't. And guys, when we start stacking, failing ourselves over and over and over again, we begin to believe the lies. How can I help somebody else when I can't even help myself? It's wild where our minds can go. And so what I want to give you guys in this episode is I want to give you 3 things that I believe you can be doing that will help you become more consistent with video content. And I say 3, I have 3 written down. I might throw in a couple more. I might think of something else on the spot. But I know for sure these 3, and the first one is very practical, but it's very hard. Is I want you to make 2 lists. I want you to make 2 lists. A long form content ideas list, and then a short form content ideas list. And so here's how this breaks down practically. The difference between long form and short form for me. If you're doing a video that's over 3 minutes, I consider that long form content. Ideally, if you were doing some videos that were 3 to 10 minutes in length, you would be providing yourself with great content for YouTube, which is powerful. Second largest search engine in the world, owned by the first largest search engine in the world, right? Google owns YouTube. And so for some of you, if you're not playing in long form video content, you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to be found on YouTube, but also you're robbing yourself of the opportunity that when somebody goes to look you up, to validate you, to find social proof, not having a YouTube channel is a pretty big red flag now. And so that's the power of the long form content. Over 3 minutes, 3 to 10 minutes in length. And then the power of that, guys, is when you begin to create long form content, this is the most comfortable content for you to create because typically it's educational and conversational in nature. As realtors and lenders or salespeople, if you're not in this industry but listening to this podcast, the 2 things that you're great at are education and having conversations. It's what you do for a living. You could sit across from me as a potential buyer for 2 hours. You could answer all my questions. You could tell me lots of stories. You could go, whoa, 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 I wouldn't do that. And here's a story about why. We could have an in-depth conversation for forever, and you wouldn't bat an eye. That's the power of long form content. That's why I like to start people with long form content when I'm coaching, because I'm using your strengths through this process. And so this is why long form content matters. How do we come up with this list? You should be creating this list from two things. One, based on the conversations that you have with people almost every day, whether they're just friends or somebody you ran into at Target, or a future client or current client or potential client at Starbucks. You are always in conversation with people, answering questions, being asked questions, right? All these things. And so you should be tallying a running list of these conversations. What's being talked about? What stuck out to you, right? What stood out to you? And so this is how you create this list. Then you're going to have a short video, short form content list. And to me, this one can easily play off of the list we've already created for long form. But where I think short form really is done well is when you create your list based off what you see other people doing. Because this is going to strengthen your mind. If you can begin to watch other people's content and instead of get jealous and then feel insecure and then let that lead you to do nothing, but if instead you'll do what Steal Like an Artist, one of my favorite books, the author says, celebrate and copy. So if you can grow this muscle to be able to watch other people do video and go, man, that was great, but I think I could do that. And I think I could do it a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily need to be better. Your people probably don't know them, but different, because you are you and they are they, right? And so this is how we create these lists. Long form content comes from conversations we're having out in the world. Short form content comes from what we see other people doing. And now you've got your lists, right? You're creating what will become your future content. Now, here is the warning that I've got to give you guys. Please do not get caught up in just celebrating the list. Don't get caught up in going, man, I'm proud of myself, man. I made a list. I added 3 things to that list today. Because that list, if it's not followed by action, is pointless. And so this list is simply the starting blocks for the race that we're about to run. And so there's got to be this consistent balance of adding to the list, but then removing from the list because I just recorded that video. And so how do we do this? This is my second tip for you guys, which is I would recommend that you record once or twice a week. Because again, if you don't commit this to habit, it's never going to happen. It's the same thing for me with working out. When I just say, I'm going to work out tomorrow, if it isn't the first thing I do, the longer the day goes, the less likely it is that I'm going to work out. Because I will use the entire day to build up excuses. So by the end of it, I'm like, you know what? I probably walked like a total of a mile between my days today. So that's probably good enough. Or I ate pretty healthy at lunch. I probably don't need to go to the gym. But if I drop the kids off at school and go straight there, I don't give myself enough time to come up with excuses. Because again, if we can go back to how crazy is it that the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and the average person, 80% of those thoughts are negative. And so this is how we wind up in really bad places, because we make these commitments, we don't follow through. And even though nobody knows, even though they're only commitments to ourselves, it begins to play a detrimental role in our ability to move forward. And so I would set times to record, and I'd try to knock it out early, right? Brian Tracy wrote a great book called Eat the Frog. And it's all about like, what's the thing you don't want to do the most? Let's do that first. Let's eat the frog first. Let's get rid of our hardest task so that the rest of the day can be rather easy, right? And so I would say, I record every morning from 9, or every, Thursday morning from 9 to 11. I record, every Friday from noon to 2. Pick the window where you have the most energy, where you are the most ready. And then, guys, you have to calendar this appointment and treat it like it's an actual person, because you don't call your appointment with a buyer and go, "Hey, sorry, I can't meet today." You don't call a potential seller and say, "Hey, sorry, something came up, I can't meet today." No, they always take priority. And so you've got to calendar this appointment, and then it must take priority over everything else. And so if you say Fridays are pretty slow for me, I'm going to record from 9 to 10 on Friday mornings. When somebody asks you to go to breakfast on Fridays at 9, your answer is, "Oh, I wish I could, but I've already got plans. I've got an appointment that I've got to be at." It has to take precedent. You have to defend it the way you would defend all the other appointments on your calendar. And then once you set aside this time, you've got to decide what makes the most sense for you. I'm a big fan of, what if during that time I just recorded 2 long form video content? I'm going to record 2 10-minute videos in that hour. I'm going to change shirts. I'm going to put a different hat on if I've got a hat on. I'm going to make it feel like it's different. Because, guys, here's the beauty of long form content, and I don't talk about this enough. My company, Content Compounding, we take people's long form video content, we edit it and make it look super cool for their YouTube channel. Then we break it down into micro content, into short form. So this is why this is powerful. This is why I love having a podcast, because I can record one piece of long form content. I can have a conversation with you right now, the same way we would in person. And then my team will chop this up into 6 to 8 different short form videos for TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts. It's incredible. So you just need to understand that if you will start with long form, if you would just once a week record 2 10-minute videos, 2 7-minute videos, that's going to provide you with about 10 pieces of video content a week. That's pretty unbelievable, isn't it? That keeps you super consistent, doesn't it? But it only required about a 30-minute window a week of your time. This is the power of this. So you've got to decide what you want this to look like. You might just be better at short form content. So you might come up with 6 to 8 different Reels ideas, and then you're going to just knock those out during your hour that you've given yourself. This is the only way this is going to work, because, guys, I'm here to tell you, your ability to be spontaneous is going to ruin this for you. If you just go, "Well, no, I'm not going to set aside time. Like, I'll just make sure it happens." No, you won't. Because if that were true, you wouldn't be feverishly taking notes right now, because you would already be doing all of this. And so let's stop lying to ourselves. My ability to go, yeah, I'm going to work out today. I'm not sure when, but I'm going to. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. The greatest worker outers, right? The greatest athletes, the greatest marathon runners, the greatest CrossFitters, they don't live their life going, "Yeah, I just kind of work out every day whenever. Just whenever I can get to it." They are the most disciplined people in the world when it comes to their ability to work out. They've worked out at the same time for the last 3 years. And so quit fooling yourself. You will not get better at this if you expect your ability to be spontaneous to work, because it will always work against you. And then the third thing that I want to give you guys as we kind of wrap up this episode is, don't get short-sighted. This is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And when I started working out this month, I had to be very committed to not getting on the scale too often, because I didn't want those numbers to either or, right? I didn't want them to inflate me and make me be like, yes, let's go. Because as excited as good numbers can make me, those same numbers being the opposite can devastate me. And so I have to be reminding myself, like, bro, this is a bigger picture. You are trying to accomplish something bigger than just, did you lose 2 pounds last week? Because through my first 10 workouts, I gained a pound. Now I felt better, and my Whoop bracelet that I wear was showing that my numbers were getting better, that my breathing was better, my heart rate was better. So like I knew my body was getting better, but the vanity metrics, my literal weight was a pound heavier than I was 10 days ago. And there was a moment for me where I thought, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. I hate this. This is why I don't do this. But I had to remind myself, right? Crash the chatterbox. I had to remind myself that I am fighting for my children. I am fighting for my wife. I am fighting for my business. I am fighting for my employees. And they need a healthier Kyle for the next 30 years, not for the next 30 days. And so what have I had to do? 6 days on, 1 day off. 6 days on, 1 day off. I don't go, yeah, like I take a couple days off whenever I want to. I can't say that because you know what I'll do? I'll take off 2 days in a row. And then those 2 days will turn into 4 days. And then those 4 days will turn into a week. And then I'll look up and go, I haven't worked out in a month. And so I've had to be very intentional with my time. And this is how it works. You have to be better. Do not overthink the beginning. Do not do your first 3 videos. They suck. Nobody watches, and then go, man, this is crap. This doesn't work. It works. The richest people in the world are doing video and talking about the power of video. Are they doing this because it's an accident? No, they're doing it because they know where the world is, and more importantly, they know where it's continuing to go. Your brand is everything. What people think about you, but more importantly, what they can find about you once told about you is so, so, so important. And so you've got to be able to lock this down. So in recap, you need to make 2 lists, a long form content list and a short form content list. Number 2, you need to record once or twice a week, schedule it, be religious with it, and do not let other appointments come in between you and that hour on the calendar. And then number 3, don't get short-sighted. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. And so this is something that will serve you well for the next 2 decades. If you can fight through the quitting points, overcome the vanity metrics, and realize the power of people being able to see you on a regular basis and the ability that gives you to provide your services or your product to them. So I hope you've learned something on this episode. I can't wait to be back with you next week. Thanks for listening to the Social Media Mindset Podcast. See ya.